The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, Monday Night Raw review.
Hello and welcome to the Wrestling to the Max Monday Night Raw review. I am Brandon Biskobing. I am your host, and as usual, joining me this evening is Cedric Cologne. Cedric, how's it going?
It's going. How you doing?
Pretty good. You ready for this craziness of a mess of WWE that we're about to review?
As ready as I can be.
As ready as we ever will be. The show kicks off with no chance in hell. Vincent Kennedy McMahon coming out. He says tonight will be one for the ages, and this will be a night that no one will forget. If we do not forget this, it will be for all the wrong reasons, but I digress. He says he's kicking the show off, but before he's able to continue, Roman Reigns makes good on his promise and comes in to Monday Night Raw, even though he's a SmackDown guy. He said, Vince says that he's got the police right over there if Roman wants to try to pull what he pulled on SmackDown and Superman punch him again. Roman says, tells him to watch his tone. And yes, I am on SmackDown, but I've been on Raw for a long time. And he always said he'd leave this place better than he found it. But when he left, Vince and his family said that they were giving the power over to the fans, which they did not do. So now he's back on Raw to right a wrong. Daniel Bryan then comes out and makes his first appearance since WrestleMania, which rumor has it that he got another concussion. So enjoy him while it lasts, guys, because I have a bad feeling that he's going to have to retire again sooner rather than later. But more on that later, probably. Maybe we'll talk more about that on SmackDown, since that's where he's supposed to be, although that doesn't matter. Oh, I forgot to do my joke for the show, for the opening of the show. Welcome to Monday Night Raw, where the rules Welcome to Monday Night Raw, where the rules are made up and the brand split doesn't matter. And for those of you who didn't watch much stuff in the 90s, that is the opening line from Whose Line Is It Anyway? Great show. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at in WWE. The rules don't matter. The rules are made up and nothing matters. So, yeah. Brian comes out, he says he wants to have an intellectual conversation with Vince about what happened at Mania and how he was screwed, yada yada yada. And then Kofi comes out, says the Superstar Shake-Up was a big deal, but he has an issue with Daniel, and if he had a problem with WrestleMania, he didn't have to go to the McMahon. He could have filed this complaint directly with Kofi. He said he would have given him a rematch. Brian says, yeah, you're an undeserving champion who should have never gotten a title shot in the first place. They all go back and forth, and Vince interrupts them all and says, wait a second, I had an epiphany. I'm a genius. Let's have a wild card rule. We're going to allow 3 guys from SmackDown to come over to Raw, and 3 guys from Raw to go over to SmackDown. Which this eventually gets changed later on in the show anyway. And it's just absolute chaos and anarchy, because more people jump ship that were, not technically a part of this. But yeah, then Drew McIntyre comes out. says, this isn't SmackDown Presents Raw, which I agree. Thank you, Drew. I agree. He doesn't care about what Kofi and Bryan are doing, but I do care about Roman. I want a rematch, and then we get the two co-main events pretty much announced, which are a rematch for the title between Bryan and Kofi, and then Drew against Roman. This was very long, very irritating. Let me just get your thoughts on it, and then I may say a little bit more, and then we can continue.
Oh, that was a pretty long start of the program.
Yeah, I think between, and then they proceed to cut to break, and they're still doing stuff with Vince and AJ, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I think the opening segment, like the two halves of the opening segment, before we even got a match, was probably about a half hour.
Yeah, it was. My son was actually timing it on the bottom meter that the TV has.
He actually timed it?
Where we at. Yeah, he was actually looking at it. He was timing it because I remember I think he told me that. Well, I know I'm skipping a little bit ahead, but I think he said that within the first hour of Raw, we had two matches, one that really did not count, one that counted, but the first 30 to 35 minutes was just a segment of them talking and talking and talking some more.
I wish for the show that you would have had him like write an exact timestamp of like from the time the show went on the air to like the opening bell of the first match.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was trying to pay as much attention as I could, but it became such a cluster that I was
yeah.
I don't get this whole thing, especially like you're coming up with the rules on the air, right on the spot, and it's making no sense. It takes away from having heavily advertised the whole shakeup to all of a sudden come up with these crazy wild card rules where 3 from SmackDown come to Raw and 3 from Raw go to SmackDown.
Which that doesn't last very long. We'll get to that more later. But
a little bit crazy, but it was too long of a segment.
Oh,
really.
Definitely. I mean, I get that, like, you know, in order to make any sense of this whole, we're gonna allow Roman to go over to Raw because they think that he's gonna be the be all end all god to save the ratings, which I hate to be this guy, but I'm disappointed that it actually kind of worked because the ratings were a little bit up this week as compared to the last few weeks. So, which probably means we're going to get more of the same of this. But yeah, I mean, with how bloated the roster is, and with how, just, I don't know how this is going to work come October. I mean, I saw a rumor just a little while ago, right shortly before we went on air, that said that now the rumor is that this is what Fox and NBC want. They want to have they want to have the ability to have all of the top stars. They don't want to be limited on who they have. Which I kind of get to an extent, but at the same time, it's like Fox and NBC should have both said, okay, these are who we want, and if there were any crossovers, you could have done something where there is this legit competition, which I would assume there is going to be between Fox and NBC trying to have the top WWE show. Have this competition and make it feel like there is real competition. And I have a bad feeling that the brand split's going to come to an end sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's like I had mentioned earlier when we were messaging through Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
It on principle doesn't look good, but we understand why they're doing it. You know, the whole rating thing's understandable. The whole having Fox and NBC telling them, "Hey, we want to see ratings. You know, we don't want to see these low ratings that you've been getting as of right now. We want that to boost." But uh, for me, when you start jumping superstars from one show to the other, kind of it's not organic because you're not gonna have like those feuds that develop with the folks that are actually in that brand. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The, the
Well,
champions, the champions jumping from one side to the other would have made sense if you only had one title, but not.
well,
But
yeah,
since you have titles representing each
both
brand, it's
brands,
gonna be
yeah.
really weird.
Oh
That's
no, yeah. But that's the other thing too, and WWE does not want to admit what the real problems are, so they're looking for these quick fixes instead of trying to fix the overall problem, which is that they don't really have any real stars because they don't want another CM Punk situation. So they're so focused on not making anyone become bigger than the company. So as a result, you just have like these floating mid-carders with a few, semi-upper mid-carders, but no real true top of the line stars. And not to mention that the writing is complete crap. So the short fixes, while yes, they may boost a rating for a week or so, it's not going to fix the underlying problem with the company. And I just don't know what happens from here, especially with what Fox has said, which is basically, if you don't give us what we want, they basically are Batista. Give me what I want. If they don't get what they want,
hopefully not spitting as much though.
yes, not quite as much spitting. But if they don't get their 3 million viewers, they're either A, gonna move, relegate SmackDown to FS1, or B, I wouldn't be surprised, especially considering Fox's history with things like this. Family Guy, Futurama, there's plenty of others that that you could include in this. I could totally see them just up and dropping SmackDown and leaving WWE in limbo if they don't get what they want.
Yeah, well, it's like I was reading somewhere, and I hate to admit it, that this is the reality of it. When they do these small, quick fixes, it helps with your casual fan, but you alienate your more hardcore fans, the ones that feel like they know best. And it's not that they know best; it's that they live through an era of WWF/WWE when things were really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but
it's
yet,
almost
see,
like
that's the irony of it, is that the WWE is catering to the more casual fans. There's this weird, double standard that WWE has to seemingly abide by nowadays, where they understand that the more casual fans and the fans that are lapsing are the fans who were around during the Attitude Era, that, mostly male, that want that harder hitting, more sports based, more hardcore style. And those fans are going off and watching real sports. And they understand that because that's why they bring back the likes of Brock Lesnar, the likes of Goldberg, the likes of Undertaker, to try to bring in that audience because they know those people and it's that nostalgia pop. But at the same time, they're still so focused on trying to keep this family-friendly PG John Cena image of the company where they're not willing to fix that underlying problem of you're so limited by what you're willing to do that, those fans, yeah, they may tune in to see the old star do something, and they understand that because the WWE can't do anything to them, that they have that leash a lot looser than the current roster. I mean, look at some of the things that Brock has done, some of the things that Goldberg has done, some of the things that Triple H has done, some of the things that even John Cena did at WrestleMania. Towing that line and maybe even crossing the line a little bit into the more risque level that the fans want to see, yet WWE isn't willing to pull the trigger and maybe alienate a few fans, alienate a few sponsors on a short-term level, but get reap much higher rewards on the long term.
Yeah, it's quite a dilemma what they got going on right now.
Yeah, let me just put it this way. It's gonna be a wild 6 months between now and when the Fox deal happens, and then, presumably we'll find out more in a few weeks, but presumably when AEW hits the airwaves, either on TNT or wherever. But yeah, it's gonna be a wild few months, or it's gonna be a wild 6 months. And let me just put it this way, on so many different levels, and it's getting to the point where I'm even thinking about saying, screw it, nope, can't do it anymore. I'm using my Monday and Tuesday nights to catch up on New Japan. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. I'm just saying it right now. I'm just preparing you. It's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Well, hopefully someone that's up there in the hierarchy of leadership, if AEW does have the success that so many folks have already claimed that they're gonna have, then maybe we'll have another WWE or WWF WCW situation where people that can better the WWE brand gets hired, especially from the creative side, and maybe we'll have true competition once again. And that's what I'm kind of hoping.
Well, that's what every
AEW.
That's what every wrestling fan should be rooting for. They should be rooting for AEW to be very successful, and as a result, for WWE to get scared and start doing better. But unfortunately, it seems like WWE is starting to get scared, but instead of, writing better, they're just trying to basically hold hostage everybody who they think could be a good fit for AEW.
And that will only last so long, you know what I mean?
Well, we've talked enough about the state of WWE. I mean, we could do a whole show on the state of WWE and where things are going right now. But for the time being, let's continue on Raw. But yeah, this whole this whole new rule, this whole new wildcard rule, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it. I have a feeling it's just going to become just complete chaos sooner rather than later. And unless Fox says, no, we do not want, things to be combined, the Superstar shakeup is coming to an end soon. And unfortunately, more so Tori than I, but, I kind of saw the writing on the wall a few years ago when they stopped the brand exclusive pay-per-views way earlier than they did the first time around. So next, after we go to break, Vince is still in the ring, but everyone else has cleared out for some unknown reason. They all decided to just leave during the commercial break. AJ comes out, asks Vince, what are you doing? He finally gets to Raw, and then everyone's jumping back over from SmackDown. So, what's going on here? Vince again talks about his wild card rule. AJ says that's pretty convenient that it happens now. He spent years on SmackDown making it the house that AJ Styles built, and once he goes to Raw and gets a shot at the Universal title, Vince sends Seth's brother in crime Roman over to help him out. Seth comes out, says, I gave you the benefit of the doubt for 1 week, and he sucker punched him for his troubles. That's the last time he'll get one over on him. They go back and forth. And then Vince once again comes up with a brilliant idea that we've never seen ever before. The challenger and the champion are going to team up, and they're going to have to work together tonight. Hooray! Anything on this segment before we go to the match itself?
No, I was gonna say, first of all, with the previous segment, like Roman's whole trying to defend the universe by saying, hey, you guys claimed that the authority was not gonna be around, but it's still around, and I only take orders from the WWE universe. I was like, that in itself didn't make too much sense. It was almost like you're trying to recycle old storylines, and
I
it
will
just felt
say
really weird.
Two
But he got a
WWE's
good pop though.
what?
I was gonna say he got a good pop though.
Oh yeah,
out of that one.
and to WWE's credit, whereas oftentimes if there's a storyline that they decide to move on from, oftentimes they'll try to act like we're complete idiots and we don't have attention spans beyond a half hour. So they'll just completely ignore it and act as though it never happened. I will give them credit for going back to that and basically saying, yeah, we're calling ourselves out for saying that, and then not doing anything with it. So I will give them credit on that level.
I was gonna say the segment with AJ and Seth, it was kind of awkward because even though Seth is the champion, I didn't feel like he has that presence, that aura of around him of being champion. Hate to admit it, but even Lesnar had that aura every time he would come out with the title. It was kind of weird. I feel like AJ had more value in that segment than actually Seth did. But like you said, it was funny hearing Mr. McMahon act like this brilliant idea had never been done before, yet it's been done so many times.
Oh yeah.
The two they're gonna face for a title, let's just team them up before they finally face each other. I thought it was funny. I think Mr. McMahon did the best he could to sell it, and acting all dumb the way he was doing was, I guess that was the best part of this whole almost 30 plus minutes of entrance or intro to Raw. It was just him and his attitude.
But the funny thing about it is that with everything we've heard, about how he is, this isn't just like, yes, it's tuned up to 1,000, but he really does think we're all that stupid that we don't remember that this has happened a million times before, and he still thinks he's this brilliant guy, even though everyone can see to the contrary.
There is a brilliance to the man. It's just I'm starting to think that what many folks have said in the past, which is that he's still stuck in the old ways of doing stuff, but at the same time he's trying to pander to everybody. I think that's where the issue's at, and I don't know what kind of dialogue he has with his kids and with Hunter and his directors and whatnot, but someone should finally say, there's a reason why NXT and NXT UK are doing much better than what we're doing as the main roster.
Well, that's what I would hope Triple H would be willing to do, but it seems to me as though no one is willing to take that chance. No one has the stones to go up to Vince and say, hey, look, stop wasting, like, Triple H should be the one to be going up to Vince and saying, hey, stop wasting all my talent.
Oh, let's see what happens. Like you said, things need to change with the major changes that are going to be happening with where the two shows are going to be televised from now on.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting next few months. I mean, the summer, I'm just preparing everyone. I have a feeling that the summer is going to drag on for a while. And then come October, then we may see things start to build up in preparation for Fox and everything. But we'll see. So after over a half hour, the opening contest scheduled for
One fall
is a tag match playa between AJ Styles and Seth Rollins and the always lovable team of Baron Corbin and Bobby Lashley. This is another thing that people were complaining about. It's like, you couldn't have put someone more original against them. This match was actually pretty decent. The big moment happened towards the end where AJ went for the phenomenal forearm, and AJ accidentally, well, I don't know if it was accidental or not, but he hits Seth with the phenomenal forearm, and then Styles is like, screw this, and just rolls out of the ring, thus leaving Seth alone to eat the pin off of Corbin. What do you think of this match?
It was an okay match. I agree with you. Seeing Bobby Lashley and Baron again teaming up is kind of weird. Are you gonna, there was a time that I thought they were gonna be like a faction with Drew, but it never really materialized as such. It's kind of the first thing my son said was like, so Baron Corbin gets the win on Kurt Angle's last match, but yet he's still being used as a mid-card kind of guy. So no push, no nothing. That's why I always thought it would have been best to give that win to maybe a Drew and then push Drew McIntyre, since you actually had a segment or a match where the guy actually beat Kurt Angle with his own finishing move. So that's a whole different subject for another day. But
that's something that WWE does just in general with a lot of people, where they'll get a big win, but then nothing really comes of it.
But the match itself, I think it was more valuable for AJ and Seth, showing off what they can do. Because I'm not saying that Bobby and Corbin don't have their own movesets, but it's not as strong or as well received by me as Seth and AJ. And the obvious, AJ hitting Seth, quote unquote, accidentally, we can all see that a mile away. But the part that kind of got me was him walking away. Like you and I have mentioned before, who's gonna play the heel? Obviously, it's gonna be AJ. So that part.
I mean, we kind of saw that last week too, that it was gonna be AJ.
So for the most part, it was an okay match. Nothing unpredictable.
Next we get more of Sammy ranting. Talks more about how fans seem to like what happened at the beginning, which I don't think many people really did, Sammy. I don't know what show you were watching, but okay. But the difference is when the excitement wears off, we'll still be us, which means we're still stuck after the fact. Being the miserable person we see in the mirror, yada, yada, yada. It was Sammy's whole thing. This time, however, someone does interrupt him. That man would be Braun Strowman. He comes down, and he's going after Sammy. Sammy tries to escape. He does escape for a while. Dodges Braun, and then tries to escape underneath one of the bay doors. But Braun is able to catch him, throws him into a dumpster, and that dumpster proceeds to be taken off to the garbage facility. So, yeah, there you have it. Sami Zayn is trash now. Yeah, we'll see where this is going. Probably means that it'll be Sami versus Braun at some point. Maybe Money in the Bank, maybe not. Who knows?
Which makes no sense. First of all, kudos to Braun to just keep doing what he is getting paid to do. The guy actually looks even bigger. It seems like he's been hitting the weights and watching his diet very well because he looks amazing. This whole him coming out against Sami, I really don't know where this is gonna go. I was kind of hoping that someone other than Braun will be the one feuding with Sami, an actual good feud to show what Sami can give us as a true heel. But unfortunately, we got this, and like you said, the segment ended with pretty much figuratively and literally, Sami, you're trash.
Yep. In between all of this, and I'm gonna have to go on another little mini rant, and I actually kind of want to get your opinion on this too. In between all of this, we have the Lucha House Party come out and get a 6-man squash match against a trio of jobbers. And I get they wanted to put something like in between this just to not make that like a whole big segment. Although it was kind of stupid at the same time. You would think you'd want to follow that whole action. But beyond that, you're telling me that you can do this. You can have the generic Lucha Squad number 5 look legitimate and have them have squash matches against jobbers. But you couldn't do this with a legit strong team like Sanity? What is their obsession with this stupid Lucha House Party? It's been like this for years now.
The only thing that just crossed my mind is trying to pander more for the Hispanic audience.
But here's the thing.
Because that's all I can think.
Here's the thing about that, though. And this leads into the question that I was going to ask you in regards to that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But my inclination of it, and this has gone, even Ray to a lesser extent, yes, he has the history and everything, but seemingly every luchador, and even Almas kind of falls into this category, even Del Rio to an extent fell into this category, but it seems like every Hispanic, especially every Mexican, just gets this very generic Mexican wrestler gimmick. They don't really get any real individualized personality. You could easily make, with the exception of Lince Dorado before he joined Lucha House Party, because he actually had unique music and a unique style. But Metalik and Kalisto just feel like generic luchador number 5 that you would make in 2K.
I was waiting for the question, but...
Well, that is the question. Do you agree with me on that?
I do, because they're not really using them. It's almost like they show up to either get squashed, and then for the first time, I think, ever on the main roster, they come out and actually have a strong showing, which doesn't even make sense. Why? Like, what is going to come out of that? That was the thing that I thought to myself when I saw what they did. I agree with you also with what you just said. If you can put jobbers, local jobbers, to wrestle a Lucha House Party, why couldn't you do the same thing with Sanity? why can you not do the same thing with many others that would look better to fight? Like maybe a Bobby Roode fight, or excuse me, Robert Roode
Mhm.
fighting a jobber, or Ricochet fighting a jobber, or Aleister Black. Any name whoever you want to name, the
Mhm.
War Raiders, whatever. Oh, wait a minute, Viking Raiders. I forgot.
Hmm.
Any. It was like a wasted segment. But
Well, yeah.
unless something comes out of it, why? What's the reason other than what I just said? Are you trying to appease a segment of your audience? Because really, I just cannot see
But
why else they did it.
But see, that's the thing. That was basically my question to you. Do you think that Lucha House Party really does appeal to that segment? Because
I don't think they do.
this is just my feeling on it, but they just feel like generic luchadors. They have
No,
no personality. They have no character other than, oh, we're luchadors, we're Mexicans, we're gonna play with piñatas and maracas. You know, it's insulting, honestly.
if anything, the only thing that really could be getting any good hype would be from kids, because
Well,
that's all
well,
they do.
unfortunately, that seems like that's what 75% of WWE programming is catered to. So you're probably not wrong there. It's probably just like this stupid kids gimmick, which for some weird reason there's a bunch of older fans that actually get into it. I am of the Nigel McGuinness philosophy, and they are forever the loser house party to me.
Yep.
Um, So, moving forward, following all of that nonsense, this was just a show filled with nonsense, and we're not even halfway through. We get this whole weird thing with the women getting invitations from Lacey Evans for her match, wanting them to be in formal attire and everything. The the uh, the women's locker room agrees with me that that Lacey has to go. Um, Next, after that, our next match scheduled for one fall
And that's all it was. One fall.
is Ricochet versus Robert Roode in a Money in the Bank qualifying. We actually did get a Money in the Bank qualifying match. Huzzah! As Ricochet decided to be a man and put his on the line against Robert Roode because Robert beat him last week. But this time around, Ricochet gets the win, and he actually uses the 630 senton, which I was happy about, and he retains the spot. It was a decent match, nothing too crazy, but a solid wrestling match.
It was. There's really not much to say about it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I love the way they use Robert Roode during NXT, but he hasn't even been used halfway since being brought to the main roster. And he's another one of those talents that you. I understand there's only so many titles and there's only so many people that can wear the titles, but he's a solid main card type guy that I would have wanted him to have a good title run the way he did on NXT. But it seemed like it was easier to do on NXT
Yeah.
than it has been
Mm-hmm.
now on the main roster.
Next
And
week,
again, like you said, I'm glad that he did his finishing move
yes,
because that is a thing of beauty.
and I'm glad that they kept him in the Money in the Bank ladder match because he is one of those guys. It's a ladder match. He can do some crazy stuff with a ladder, so I'm looking forward to what he's gonna do in that match. Next, we get Ray and Dominic in the back talking. Ray goes into his locker room, and then Samoa Joe follows Dominic. And were you half expecting Joe, especially with his history? And I don't know if Dominic has been doing any training or anything like that, but were you half expecting the Dominic for Samoa Joe to send a message to Ray through Dominic in the physical variety?
Oh, definitely. That's what I thought was gonna happen.
I was expecting it too, but
It could be the clutch
instead,
time.
what?
Coquita clutch. That's what I
Yep.
thought was going to happen.
Yep, that's what I was expecting too. But instead he talks about he's had plenty of times with his dad and Eddie and yada yada yada. And he says, take a message to Ray. I'm looking forward to his title defense. Much tamer as compared to what I was expecting. But I guess he got the point across. Next, the following contest scheduled for one squash.
One squash?
Is Ali Katrina versus Lacey Evans, and this lasted all of 5 seconds. Women's right, 1, 2, 3. Lacey gets on the mic, talks about a bunch of stuff. If you want to, you can talk about what she said, because truth be told, I switched over to the game during her speech because I did not want to hear her grating ass voice.
I actually, because due to my work, I get home and already the first 2 hours of Raw have happened.
So you fast forward through the stuff that you don't care about.
To see when Becky came out. And
So
even then, I saw them fight again, and I'm like, this is nothing new, so I kind of kept them forwarding a little bit more.
This is how much people care about hearing what Lacey Evans has to say. Neither one of us wanted to listen to her voice.
I think the reason is because both of us were complaining, and I think the word is complaining, about how week after week after week she would just come out, do her little catwalk moves and leave, and then all of a sudden a feud comes out of nowhere, and
for the title, no less.
It's like, I don't really care what you got to say, because it didn't make sense to us, and plus it was so predictable, like you were saying, what kind of character she was gonna have. I want to play the lady, but I'm willing to do whatever it is unladylike to get to where I'm at. So there's no real feud. There's not really a true reason other than somebody new to fight against Becky for the title. So I don't really care what she's gonna say, because it's not gonna be anything new.
No,
I think she was being used and better served on NXT than she is in the main roster.
Yep. Becky finally comes out after probably about 5 minutes of excruciating pain in one's ears. I could only imagine how bad those people in the crowd felt. She comes out. She doesn't even try to talk. She just jumps Lacey, beats her down. They go back and forth. Becky puts on the disarm her. Lacey escapes and runs away. Next, we get a backstage promo with Daniel. He says Kofi is content shilling out pancakes, merchandise, and consumerism, and is a threat to our very existence. That's why he's no choice but to eliminate him as a role model for the future of humanity. He's not a role model nor a champion. And Bryan is here to correct course and regain the WWE champion and become what he was born to be, the planet's champion. Good solid promo for Bryan. What you expect from him, but he's always good on the mic.
Yeah, he is. And I'm glad that they are allowing him to be more himself and show that off.
Next, we get our next contest scheduled for One Fall.
One Fall?
And maybe this is me being very cynical, especially after all the crap that we've had to deal with in WWE over the past few weeks, and not to mention what happened at the beginning of the show. But I was ready to turn it off entirely if they had the Viking Raiders job out to Hawkins and Ryder.
Yeah, that would have been really bad. To see Lucha House Party be the stronger, dominant trio, and see the Viking Raiders just go down.
I was waiting for it. I was preparing myself for it. Luckily, it did not happen. Viking Raiders did get the win with the Viking experience. Decent match. Nothing too crazy, but I have a feeling this is probably setting up for them going after the titles, which I'm okay with. I'd be perfectly fine with Viking Raiders getting the titles.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God they have a better name now, so I'm okay. I want them to get a push. Next, we get the best segment of WWE television right now. We get Firefly Fun House. And surprise, surprise, they went a little dark here. And I like it.
Yeah, it's growing on me. These fireflies and these segments are growing on me. It hasn't convinced my wife yet or my son, but I
The
I think they are on my side on the whole. How is it gonna translate from these segments to actual wrestling?
Oh, I
That's what
agree with
that's
that.
what we're all waiting. We're all just wanting to see. Hey, it's all fun and games. These segments when it's like just advertising or not advertising, promoting
Yeah.
your character. But how is it gonna translate when it's time for you to actually wrestle? What kind of gimmick are you gonna bring to
Yeah.
the ring that matches the whole persona that you're doing on these segments?
I agree with that. I'll agree with that, but just looking at it purely on a microcosm level, just purely looking at the vignettes on their own, I've been liking them a lot. And like I said, the fact that they went a little dark here. They had Waylon the Buzzard, which for those of you who may not be as knowledgeable on WWE history, Waylon is a little throwback to Waylon Mercy, which Bray is definitely taking inspiration from on this gimmick. But yeah, Waylon the Buzzard is eating is eating and ripping apart and decapitating Rambling Rabbit. So rest in peace, Rambling the Rabbit. We knew you only for a week. So long, Stoner Rabbit. But yeah, this was, I mean, like you said, we're still gonna have to wait to see how this translates. WWE has plenty of time to bastardize this, but it's crazy. Bray Wyatt used to be the laughingstock of smarks everywhere because of how, he would talk about being a god and everything, and then he would never win. But now with this gimmick, it's revitalized his career for me. And I mean, he's always been great on the mic. He's always been great as a character worker. As long as they keep him legitimate, I'm looking forward to what's to come with him, but at the same time, I'm not holding my breath. So we'll see. After that, we get a Seth Rollins promo. Says, doesn't matter whether the forearm was an accident or on purpose. AJ made his point perfectly clear when he walked away. Next time he'll walk away, it'll be with 2 black eyes and a broken face. Pretty simple Seth promo stuff. Oh, one more thing before we move on. Going back to the Firefly Fun House. Did you see the just blank stares on those kids?
That was what made the segment even better.
It really was. It really was.
And Bray
What?
Bray going into, all you need to do is just let me in.
in.
And then he just starts laughing. Hey, till next week, right, kids? And the kids are just like, whatever. They're like all possessed.
Yeah. This is gonna be so much fun. That's the only thing that I really like. And here's the bad thing about it is that like they post that stuff on YouTube. So if I really wanted to like not watch WWE, I could totally catch up on Firefly Funhouse online, regardless. So the only thing that they have people interested in right now is a vignette that people can find online. So the next contest scheduled for one fall is Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns, and surprise, surprise, we don't get a clean finish. This crap is gonna continue as Shane McMahon comes in with Elias to attack Roman Reigns, continuing the whole feud from SmackDown. So now not only are people crossing over, but feuds are crossing over. And not to mention, well, Shane I'll kind of, give away because Shane is a McMahon and he can jump between the two however he wishes. But Elias is a SmackDown guy as well, so now we're up to 4. And we're not done. What do you think about this match?
Well, I think I prefer for them to have interrupted versus either Drew winning cleanly and not making any sense, or Roman winning cleanly and then even further burying Drew McIntyre. So I'm okay with the whole interrupting.
I'll agree with you to an extent, but if Drew had won, I would have been perfectly fine with it because it would have given Drew his win back from Mania. And also, it could have given it an excuse for Reigns, if they wanted to, for him to come back again and try to get, the best 2 out of 3. But, it is what it is. Miz comes out after Shane and Elias attack Roman to make the save. Chases Shane off. And then Shane's trying to escape backstage, trying to get into his limo. Miz catches up to him and beats him down for a bit. After Charlie Caruso hilariously tries to get an interview with Shane, and Shane's just like, no. And Miz beats him down for a bit with a chair, before Shane's finally able to escape, by pushing Miz away. What do you think about the whole backstage thing with Miz and Shane? I liked it.
I'm glad they have not dropped this feud. So the whole Roman and Drew, I can see what you're saying, but it makes it kind of convoluted when you also have him kind of feuding with Elias. So that's why I think I kind of like the way they did it, because I wouldn't want him to having 2 feuds going on at the same time. But I do like the fact that even though Shane may show up and fight somebody else, we still know that the real feud is with The Miz. And it shows The Miz as a face still strong and willing to, use that chair to beat him down. And it looks real. Even the angle that they used from above to see everything was going on was pretty good.
Oh yeah, the camera work that they did in this was great, definitely.
So it keeps this feud alive, and it keeps you interested. What is next? What else is going to happen? And if they continue to elevate more and more violently each match that they have during this feud, I'm okay with that.
So next we were supposed to get a match between 2 buried tag teams, but instead we're just going to bury one of them even more. Club and Revival are out for a match, but then the Usos come out. They say the Revival call themselves the highest tag team in WWE. Talk about how they've got something to help them get a little hotter. They have Uzi Hot, which is a parody of Icy Hot. And it gets activated. They've got it in their trunks, apparently. And the Revival are wriggling around and rolling around on the ring mat like damn dogs. They then proceed to give them bottles of water, which they proceed to pour down their trousers. and that just makes it worse. More cringeworthy stuff for the Revival. I told you it wasn't the end. I told you it was going to get worse. Be prepared for about a year and a half more of this, because apparently their contract doesn't come up until October of 2020.
Oof.
Oh, God.
I don't like what they're doing with them, but I don't like. I'll be honest with you. I like even less this Usos. I like the
I'll
tough
agree with
Usos.
that.
I like the street fighting Usos. This comic Uso thing, not for me.
I mean, if we got a legit, badass Uso versus, hard fighting Revival feud, that could be money. But no, we gotta get this comedy crap.
Mm-hmm. That's what we have the Lucha House Party for.
No comment. Next we get Kofi getting a backstage promo. He says a lot of folks have said the same things about him that Daniel Bryan did. They thought him winning the title was impossible. He had to show the world that the impossible is possible. Daniel wants to correct the course of history. No, that's what Kofi's about to do. When he not only retains the title, but sends Bryan back where he came from. I don't know. Ring of Honor, I guess. Next we get No Way Jose coming out. Wow, we get a Jose sighting. One of the few Hispanics that they, used to use properly in NXT. Not anymore. Then SmackDown wrestler number 5 shows up as Lars Sullivan jumps out and attacks No Way Jose's conga line and No Way Jose. And yeah, I don't know what to say about this. There's nothing really to say.
They used No Way Jose exactly the way you described Lucha Underground, the Lucha House Party earlier.
Yep.
And Lars is being built as the next big monster, and that's not a bad thing. But again, the stereotype of the way they're using Hispanics is not good. At least ADR had a presence. None of these guys do.
Nope.
And that's about it. Nothing else to say.
Yep. Next we get backstage Vince on his phone talking about the wild card rule, saying that neither Elias nor Shane count for some reason. Why? I don't know why Elias. Shane I can understand. Maybe Elias was one of his proxies or something. I don't know. And if anyone past 3 otherwise comes over as a wild card, they'll be suspended. But then Lars proceeds to come into the room and he's like, make that 4. So, rules are changing already, people. This is not going to be a fun ride. This is just going to be pandemonium and the brand split coming to a slow and painful death. Our main event, scheduled for one fall, is the WWE Championship match between Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston, and this was a great match. This was an awesome match, and Kofi Kingston retained with Trouble in Paradise, and I actually have nothing bad to say about this match. It was a good way to end the show.
Yeah, those two have good chemistry. Let me say something about Kofi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I understand, him being part of the New Day, the whole happy, the whole, throwing flipping pancakes and all that stuff. But I've enjoyed a tougher Kofi promo than I do the whole happy-go-lucky guy. So I'm a little bit torn between liking him as champion, but at the same time not liking him so much, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I like him being tough. I like when that toughness translates to his mic skills, and I like when that toughness translates to his work in the ring, because these past few months he has shown more than ever that he is a true athlete and a good wrestler. So I'm a little bit torn I'm happy he's champion, but I would like to see a more tougher side of him, especially since Big E's hurt and Xavier wasn't there. You know what I mean? I would have liked to see him be a little bit more tougher. But like you said, these two can put up a
Hmm.
good show. I always say that good wrestlers take other wrestlers and elevate them, and I think they
Hmm.
both elevated each
Oh
other.
yeah,
But,
definitely.
but Daniel is for me, Daniel is the great wrestler here, and he elevates Kofi to the same status.
Hmm.
Because if Kofi fights somebody else who's not to that level, he might not look as champion material.
Oh no,
But
definitely not.
because of
But
his
I
win,
mean, both of
they
them are
elevate.
very good.
Yeah, but they elevate each other.
Yes, yes. It'll be interesting to see how KO does with Kofi. I think they can both put on a very good match as well. I agree with you with the whole his toughness, but I think there's a balancing act that they need to do with Kofi where yes, you do want to make him look like a legitimate threat and everything, but you can't have him go away from what he is at the same time. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with this. Interesting to see what happens with Daniel now after losing his rematch. But that just about wraps it up. Scale of 1 to 10 for you.
I'm gonna give it a solid 6 for two reasons. The main event was really good, and the Firefly segment is good. The rest, it was just very meh. Especially the beginning, the intro. Oh my gosh, that
Uh,
was just way too much.
we've been far too. Harry and I talked about this on SmackDown. Apparently, as compared to the Raw reaction, we've been far too generous. And yeah, I think I'm gonna start following their guideline. Yeah, I'm giving this a 4
Ooh,
because outside of the main event and Firefly Fun House, this was just mind-numbingly bad. Like they're destroying the superstar, like destroying the brand split just a few weeks after doing the superstar shakeup and everything, and not knowing what you're doing, changing the rules as you go, seemingly not having any direction, burying people just because they haven't re-signed, even though they're great. Yeah, like I said, this is gonna be a long few months for WWE. Uh, one word review.
confusing.
Okay. I'm gonna use the word that I just used before, mind numbing.
Mm-hmm.
This was just one of those shows that they're just like, I don't even know. So there you have it. That's Raw. I guess we'll talk to you next week. I guess we watch wrestling so you don't have to. And sorry, What Culture Wrestling kind of stole your line there, but it's true. We who do these podcasts and blogs and everything, we get to get tortured so you don't have to. So, yeah, we'll talk to you next week. See you guys.